Alright, now what we're going to do next is we're going to attach the leg and to the mounting. I've partially disassembled this right now to facilitate actually mounting it. I've also set up right here is a gearbox with the motor attached and positioning, actually feedback device, potentiometer. The gear that we made earlier is already on there. So what we're going to do now is set this thing all up in here. So in order to do that, we're going to have to, first I have to disassemble this section right here, disconnect the kick motor attachment and then pull this off. Right now that's been removed, so we're going to set that aside. We'll put that back on after we've put everything together. So this makes this all pretty open right now. So what we're going to do is this is going to go on, here's these pivots, these are shoulder bolts that will go on here, and there are some thrust bearings I have here that will also go to help these things. So what we're going to start out with is, here's the top plate that goes on. We're going to go ahead, pick the side that looks the nicest. We'll put that on the outside. Go ahead and put that shoulder bolt through. Then we're going to go ahead and add thrust bearing. And the thrust bearing consists of a hardened steel washer right there, thrust bearing itself, and then another one of the steel washers. So that goes on as so, and then it's going to go in the top like that. So we see now on the other side we're going to go ahead and put another thrust bearing plus a spacer. This has already been predetermined, the size of it, so there's the spacer. Now we can go ahead and take this piece and slide it on over and get it up in there. So now we've got this piece pretty much aligned up. Put a couple screws in here to hold it in place loosely while we go and work on the lower section. This piece is pretty easy to put together. Lower section is a little trickier just because it's got a series of pieces. Well, it's got the gearbox assembly and several shafts that all have to go into the bushings. So here we go. Yeah, that's just loose. That's good. We're going to keep it loose just to make it easier to put everything together. So now we take this piece right here. This is going to go in first. So what we need to put in here is going to be the shoulder bolt first, just like we did before. Now goes into a thrust bearing. Those are on there now. Next, a spacer goes on next. And now we're ready to go and put this piece through here. So we've got to line this up in the gap right here. And then what we're going to do is move it down and get the shoulder bolt into the appropriate hole. There we go. So now you can see how everything lines up inside right here, and actually now you got the gear train is holding it in place. Alright, now we've got that through here, so we put in our last piece, which is another set of thrust bearings and another washer, or basically a spacer. So these have all been predetermined the size. So then the bottom plate goes on. I have to line it to these three shafts right here. So there'll be some wiggling and moving it around to get that in. Okay, it's been put in now. Now I'll just basically put some screws back in here to hold this whole assembly back together. And as you can see, we've got basically the main piece that which has got the swing motor, gearbox, and attaches to the leg itself, the upper portion of the leg. This is all being completed, and then this gets bolted, this piece here gets bolted into the robot body. So here it is all put together now, and you see basically the gearbox area right there. Coming up here, here's the top section. We've got thrust bearings on all the various bearing surfaces, and then back down here at the bottom we've got the kick motor has been reinstalled. So now it's ready to actually install this back onto the robot itself. So here it is now. It's been installed on the body. See the connection, or actually it's connected up underneath here. There's two screws holding it on, and then the top plate will connect into these two holes. Top plate and the bottom plate are identical to each other, but the only thing that's missing on here is still the lift motor, which would connect up there and down to this tube right here, which actually allows the leg to pick up and down. So that still needs to be done. There's a issue I've talked about before where they changed the design on the motor, the lift motor. Actually, I'll go over here. This was the original design. The lift motor, the strain relief was right here out the back corner, and now they've changed it around over here to off the side, so instead of over here. So I've kind of come up with a method to do that. But with 3 of the legs attached now, you can see here's kind of an overhead view. We've got the 3 legs. Leg number 1, 3, and 5 are attached. This is still a test circuit board in here, but the size of this machine is starting to become visible. As you can see, this thing, it's quite large. So tomorrow we'll be working on getting the other 3 ready and attached, and so be able to see what that looks like then. Alright, here it is. All 6 legs have been attached. We'll walk around. It's pretty much the same view from every angle, but it's kind of impressive when you see how big this darn thing is now, and kind of an overhead view of what it looks like, each leg radiating out from the central core. And as you can see in the interior here, still a lot of work to go from an electrical wiring standpoint and connecting up all the rest of the motor controllers. Right now there's only 3 in there, so that'll be one of the next steps, or shortly. Actually, one of the next step is going to be going and putting on the 4-inch linear actuators for the remaining 4 motors and figuring that out. So that's now come up to the forefront to figure that out. So this is it for this phase, and ready to move on now. Pretty much is going to be moving into the electrical wiring phase of getting this electrically connected up, and after that we'll be doing electronics.